Hello and welcome. In today's video, I'm gonna refret this Stratocaster that I'm holding right here that is in need of new frets. This is a Squier from the mid-80s. It's from Japan. It's one of those cool Squiers that are, you know, some of the best guitars that Fender and Squier ever put out. This one is one of the best guitars I've ever played. Actually, I love this guitar a lot, and I've played it so much that it needs new frets. Now, when I bought this guitar secondhand back in 2012, it already needed a refret. The frets were already sort of on their end, and since then I played those frets, and I refretted it, and I played it again, and I think I had to refret it again, and now I'm going to refret it again. So I've had to refret this guitar a couple of times, and the board is getting to a place where I'm uncomfortable with keeping this routine up. I play this guitar too much, I wear the frets out too much, and I feel like it's time to take measurements to prevent anything else, because the board is getting pretty thin. We're down to about maybe 1.5 mil, give or take. And yeah, sometimes you have to, when you refret a guitar, level the board. And I don't want to do that anymore. So even though there is probably a year left on these frets or something, they're also pretty down now. I don't want to play the guitar anymore in fear of wearing the frets down to a point where it's becoming an issue to get them out and maybe having to level the board. You should do a refret before it becomes an issue. This is one of those things about guitar building that I don't feel people talk about too much. But when the frets are so worn down that they are like paper thin against the board, then you need a refret, but it's actually too late. You should have done it earlier. It's going to be difficult to get the frets out. So I'm doing a refret now, before it gets hard to do. And I've actually thought about this for maybe 2 years, because I've tried to weigh the cons and pros against each other, but I've decided that I'm going to put stainless steel frets on this guitar, because even though I don't think stainless steel frets are the best thing ever and they solve all your issues, and a guitar is only good when it has stainless frets, I don't believe any of that. I do think that in certain cases stainless steel frets make sense, because it takes a lot longer to wear those frets down, and it takes a lot longer to get to a place where you need to recrown them or polish them up or anything like that. The frets, yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of benefits to stainless steel frets. So yeah, I really like this guitar, so I'm worried that stainless steel frets are going to change the tone. So that's something that we're going to experiment later. I've played this guitar since 2012, I think. And I've played it a lot, as you probably can tell. So I really know what it sounds like. And I really know what I like about it. So yeah, we're going to take the neck off because it has the adjustment here. And then we're going to put stainless steel frets on it. And then after that, when it's all back together again, we'll play it. I don't think that you'll be able to tell the difference, because I don't think the difference is going to be that noticeable. At least not in video form. But I'll tell you if I notice a difference. And if I do, it's a difference that I think I'm going to have to learn to live with. I don't think it's going to be a difference that makes a good guitar into a bad guitar. I don't think you can put stainless steels on a guitar that you love and make it change the tone so drastically that the guitar becomes worthless or useless or bad. But I'm expecting that it will get brighter, and maybe it will affect the sustain. But I don't think that those things will bother me in the long run. I like my guitars to be on the brighter side, which I've talked about later. I usually, for example, always roll back the bass on everything so that I can get room for the actual bass guitar in those frequencies. So to me it doesn't seem like it will be an issue. But if by the end of this video you feel like what I'm saying sounds too much like a negative, then you will know that maybe you shouldn't do this to your guitar. But again, it's about weighing the pros and cons. I imagine that if I put stainless steel frets on this guitar, I will not ever, or at least not in the foreseeable 10 to 20 years, have to refret it again. and that will help me save the board if I can make the guitar last longer. I don't want to have to get a new neck for this guitar. The guitar is almost completely stock, except for the bridge pickup, which I think is a Seymour Duncan. And yeah, the nut is obviously not new, because when I got this guitar it had been turned into a Jimi Hendrix Strat. That's why it has all these weird marks on it. It had a couple of strange marks on it that I had to work to remove. I also repainted up here. Anyway, we're gonna jump into, I'm gonna take the neck off, and when I'm back we are gonna start working on the frets. So let me just take the neck off. Yeah, and we'll be back. Alright, so here we have the neck taken off, and here I have a iron for ironing your clothes, and I like to use that because I can heat up almost all the frets in one go, and I don't need to waste solder heating these up, because the reason why you use solder on your soldering iron is to help make the heat transfer into the frets. But you don't actually have to work that way. It's a little clumsy way of doing it, and you can waste that solder on something else, like for example building pedals. So I'm going to put a damp cloth of some sort. This is just an old towel that I have in the shop for dirty things, dirty work, and then I'm just gonna heat these frets up a little bit. Just go back and forth like this for a couple of minutes maybe. And I'm gonna try to be gentle here and careful, and just see if I can maybe heat these frets up a little bit. I'll remove the towel and I'll feel the fretboard. It all feels nice. I don't feel anything weird going on. This is also a good way of cleaning the fretboard, because it is a little gunky from the guitar being played. So I'm gonna see. I'll take something like a chisel, for example, and I'll put it up on the side, and I'll just see if I can lift the fret. And I'll be very gentle, and I won't put much force at all, because obviously this is an old guitar and it's a guitar that I love. So I really don't want to see. I did that for that wasn't very long, and I'm already able to lift out the first fret. It's slowly, gently coming loose. So I'll just press with the chisel, and then I'll put this back on. I'll just rework that a little bit. Just hold this over the frets. And just see what happens. Just hold it still for maybe a little second. You don't want to burn anything, so move slowly. And take the towel off. Feel everything. Just give it a quick. Just go in. See if you can lift it. Maybe lift it a little bit more easily in this corner. And this is obviously to prevent ship outs. You don't want ship outs, but you also you need to get the fret out. It has been there. It came out a little bit of gunk. It looks pretty nice. I'm gonna repeat the same thing with the next fret, but I'll zoom in so you get to see everything once more, but a little bit closer up. And then I'm just gonna repeat that process throughout the entire neck. So yeah, let's zoom in. Wow! There you have the fret. I hope you can see. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but you can see it. I didn't get any chip outs or anything. There's a little bit of gunk. I need to do a little bit of cleaning, but that comes later. First, let's see if we can get the fret out. So let's just heat it up again and speed through this. Well, not speed through, but warm it up. And I heat up most of the frets at the same time, because you break the glue bondage. So I might go a little bit quicker than if you do this with just an old soldering iron or whatever it is people are using. I tried to dunk on it because I really want people to stop doing it that way. But I mean, I was a beginner at some point too, and I just did what everyone else on YouTube was doing. because that's, you know, how you learn. But at some point you have to start wondering, like, okay, what's the reason for what they're doing? Like, what is it that they're trying to achieve, and how can I do it smarter? You know, that's how I at least try to look at the difference between being like new to fixing and building guitars versus like being, you know, more experienced, I suppose. Which I'm not trying to say that I am, but I have been doing this since 2009. So, you know, you pick up a couple of things, you experiment, and you fail sometimes as well. Like, I mean, I've destroyed my fair share. I don't know if you can see, but you can see it, like the edge here on the fret. There isn't that much left. And it's not really to a point where it's an issue, but I want to fix this before. So there we go. I got maybe a tiny bit of tear out right there, but I'm hoping that when the new frets go on, it won't be that noticeable. And if you want to remove some on the side, you can tap it like this to just, you know, but make sure you don't go over the mark, the cut, because then you'd be working in the opposite direction. So do it from both sides, you know, like this, which I might not, my husband might be in the way too much, but yeah, we're gonna sand this back a little bit later. So yeah, I'll do the next fret here, same thing. I throw a towel over, and I locate the fret. There it is. Then I just go back and forth, heat it up. And the thing is, one thing that this really helps with making it faster is the further you down you go, the faster it goes, because you've already heated up the frets. You might have already broken the glue bondage. So by heating it up for a couple of seconds, you know, it might already be becoming loose. So yeah, just gonna pop this one as well. You see how this one is coming out a lot quicker than the two first, and I just have to like basically come in here, be super careful to not scratch the fretboard, but it's like basically it wants to come out. And that one is the cleanest one yet. Yeah. So I'll do the next one and the next one and so on until we're all the way down. I'll do this one and then this one. See you in a bit when all the frets are out. Alright, so here's the guitar neck right now. And it's all really nice. You know, I got a little ship out right there, and I got a little ship out there, and a little one there, and a little one there. Small ones that I don't think they're going to be that visible. Now, we're going to prepare the fretboard, and we're going to start off by sanding it back a little bit. This is 400 grit sandpaper, and this is a 9.5 radius block, and that's because this is a 9.5, which is, you know, the best. And what I got to do is I'm just going to put it up here and move it across like this. And I'm just going to be very gentle and very careful. I want to take off as little as possible and just give it a very nice, easy little sand. I don't want to remove all the marks, because this neck has a couple of marks from being played over all these years, and a couple of, you know, wears that are like finger wear into the board, and I want to keep those. They're mostly done by the people who play this guitar before me, but a little bit of it is also me. I just want to touch this up a little bit. As you can see, even though this is a 9.5, me sanding it, I'm taking mostly off the edges, which means it's not completely really a 9.5 any longer. So yeah, I'll be right back once I've done this for a little bit. I'm not gonna try to take everything off and make this perfect, because I do want to keep a little bit of the vintage wear and tear. But I want to trim it up a little bit. See you in a bit. Alright, so I have a couple of small little things. I've zoomed in pretty far, so it might look bigger on the camera. But right here, for example, I have a little mistake or tear out or whatever you want to call it. And I've sanded this back, and it's full of sand from the fretboard, because it's obviously the fretboard. So I'll just dab a tiny little bit of super glue right there and move it around, and I'll do that on a couple of these little tear outs that I'm, you know, maybe not worried about, because I don't think they're gonna cause any real issues. But you never know. And I'll just leave this for a couple of minutes to harden, and then I'll sand it back, and it will be basically gone. So I'm using the sanding to my advantage to fill up its own little tear outs. And yeah, and once I've done it, I'll be right back. Once I've sanded it back again, I mean, obviously. Yeah. Alright, so here we have it now. I think this is good. There are a couple of dings and scratches and marks still on it from play wear and stuff like that, but I've sorted out everything and it's flat and nice. And so yeah, let's squirt a little bit of this on if we can. Just a little bit of lemon crap, and then a rag, and oh yeah, look at that, looks nice. Fretboard is coming alive to the sound of music. I don't know what I'm saying. Just mush this around, move it around. And it's just because, I mean, I did warm up the fretboard a little bit. I mean, the iron couldn't touch the fretboard because the frets were in the way, so the heat went into the frets. But there's always a little bit of transfer. There's always a little bit of drying things out. Plus, it is always nice to see the fretboard when it's been oiled up. So something like that, I'm gonna leave this on for maybe 10 minutes. I'll just take a quick break, have a cup of coffee, and then I'll come back and I'll just take another drag and I'll just remove the excess. But first I'm going to zoom in here and we'll see if you can see it. I mean, obviously it's not that much about if you can see it or not. It's more about, you know, if I can see it in real life. But I think that's where you can see it a little bit in the light, which maybe you can't see, but somewhere around here. where did I do it? I know I fixed a little tear out here with super glue and sawdust. Wait a second. Anyway, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back once we have let this dry for a couple of more minutes. Yeah! Alright, so here we have the neck, and I need to adjust it a little bit. Now you might ask yourself why I didn't do that earlier, and the reason why I didn't do that earlier is because I didn't need to. Pulling the frets out is just pulling the frets out. If I was going to keep the frets and do work on them, that's a different story. Sanding the neck, I didn't sand it that much. I sanded it a little bit to just get it a little bit more even and removing some of the gunk, and, you know, not that much work, like 2 minutes work with 400 grit sandpaper. Anyway, now I'm gonna straighten it out. I put my ruler up like this, and I try to see what I need to do. So I come down here and I check, and I see I have a little bit of a gap. I'll put my screwdriver in here and I'll see what I have to do. Well, it's kind of stuck actually. It's a very tiny. There we go. Loosen it a little bit, see if that helps. Yeah, need to tighten it, which is a worrisome thing because I felt like it was already pretty tight. That is maybe a little bit more. It's always stressful with old truss rods that are in vintage guitars. Anyway, there we go. I think that's good. It's almost there. It's not 100% straight, but it is pretty tight, so I think maybe I don't want to overdo it. Okay, here I have my frets. Now, when you buy frets, there are a couple of different ways you can do it. You can buy really long pieces. That's what I usually do, because I buy them from Stumac and they come in a plastic tube. And it's, enough frets for 20 guitars. Or you can buy them like this. You can also buy a ruler, or a roll of fret. Yeah. I'm going to take one of these out. The reason why I bought this one is because it was stainless steel frets and jumbo. Stainless steel jumbo. I'm going to just see how close. These are not exactly 9, I think. Let me check if I hold it up to this. They are, actually, maybe they are 9s on the radius. Does it say on the package? No, it doesn't. Yeah. Okay, let's talk stainless steel. No, let's talk fretwork a little bit. Let's talk quality. This is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, and I just want to get it off my chest. The fret sprouting is not an indicator of the quality of the neck or the quality of the guitar. It's a natural thing that will occur. Not on all guitars, not always, but every now and then it will happen. It depends on how old the guitar is. In most cases, a new guitar will have fret sprout more often than an old guitar. But it's also a question of if the climate is changing, if the guitar is going from one country to another. If you have a guitar that you've had for 10 years, for example, and you've never had issues with fret sprout, and then all of a sudden you have fret sprout, something has changed. Something has happened that isn't good, and that you should probably think about. I should go through the frets and make sure I get all the gunk out. I almost forgot it. So I'm going to do that. I'll just go in with a knife and just make sure there is clearance. But I'll do it like that. That's all you need to know about that. Anyway, let's get back to the frets. Sorry, getting sidetracked by myself. Fret sprout is only an issue, really. I mean, you have to deal with it. But if you look at this fret, for example, you can see that how it's been cut. It has been cut so that the bar doesn't stick out. You can make your frets, if this bar isn't cut back, then as the neck shrinks, that underside here, which I hope you can see, that's what's going to come out and cut in your hand and be uncomfortable. The tip here, usually that's not that big of a deal. It can be uncomfortable, but it's usually the tang underneath where the teeth are that is the real issue. So if you have fret sprout and you're noticing that under tang is sticking out, that is an indicator of poor craftsmanship or poor quality. The upper part, depending on how it's rounded over and how it's smoothed out, if it's really rounded or if it's just like flat, if it's a little bit sharp, that's an indicator of quality. So not the fret sprouting in itself, but the feel of it. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, I'm gonna just go in with a knife like this and just clear out the gunk. Just move it about like this. And yeah, if there is any gunk, like right there's a little bit of gunk, it's gonna disappear. And yeah, I'll do that to all the frets. But first, let's zoom in to the first one right here and see if we can't install the first fret, or at least try to get a start. So there we are. Yeah, so if I just press this into place like this and glue it down, obviously I can just cut it to size and it will be all good. But the problem is, as you can see, this part here that sticks out, this little tang, it will disappear with it. So what you want to do is you don't want to do that. Basically what you want to do is you want to cut away enough so that the tang ends a little bit too early, so that there is a little bit of clearance, and then do the opposite side as well. So pre-cutting the slots, pre-cutting the fret to the right size, basically, is what we're gonna do. So I need a pair of pliers to do this. Question is, do I still have my pliers? Or have they been misplaced? I thought I had them right here, like a couple of seconds ago. Where did they go? Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm blind. I had them right in front of me. So this tang here, I feel like that's a little bit much. So I'm gonna just cut it back a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. Something like that. I don't know if you can tell the difference between the two ends. There's a little bit of a difference. Just yeah, I'm gonna take that file and just square it up a little bit and make it a little bit nicer. Something like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this pretty close to the end here, and I have that hanging over just a little bit. Then I'm going to come in with this, and I'm going to try to I don't know why I'm so fiddly with my hands today. Get that off right there. Leave myself maybe, how much could that be? I have it in maybe overlapping with 1/2 mil on this side, overlapping with 1/2 mil. It's actually probably more than 1/2 mil. And yeah, and that's just because if everything is overlapping with 1/2 mil, then it's going to be easy. I need to go and get my other pair of pliers that are better for stainless steel, because I'm not cutting through that. I'll be right back. Right, I'm back. So now I'm just going to come in here. These pair of pliers have a longer handle, so if you clamp down here, your strength is gonna be used a lot easier. And you don't have to have pliers that are flush. It only depends on how you do your work. So keep that in mind. And then I'm going to come in here and try to cut that tang. I might see if I can do it with this one because I get a little bit closer. Maybe a 5 will do the trick. So I cut the tang away. Oh, can you see what I mean, my hands? So I cut the tang away by taking a file and just moving it in there and removing it. And now I can move it up into its place. I can align it. I can give it a little press like this. And I like to take something like a little piece of wood or something. And see if I can press it in. And if I can press it in, that's more than enough for me. But sometimes you have to give it a little bit of tab. That's when a rubber mallet, for example, can come into place. And you just hit it, but you don't hit it particularly hard. You try to avoid and then you can hit the wood block. And the idea is, don't use too much force, because obviously a neck can be a fragile thing. But yeah, I think that is. I'm gonna go over it with a feeler gauge, like this, and just take something thin and just drag it along, and I can get it in under. So it means it's not seated all the way. So I'll give it another good tap. like that maybe. It's probably not in completely yet either. Let's install the rest of the threads and then come back to this one, or to all of them, to make sure that they are nicely seated. But yeah, you can start by just getting them into place. So I take the next one, and move it up. I'll cut a little bit of the tang off. Make sure you don't drop things. It's just I feel like the tang is it's sticking out a little bit further than it needs to. You don't want so big of a tang and the fret beginning so far in that you run into issues of things lifting or anything like that. So I cut it back a little bit, and I move it in, place it in the groove. Come on, get in there. And I give myself a little bit wiggle room, and then I come in here and I cut the rest like that. Now I can see it sits pretty nice, and I'm gonna just take a file and sand this back, and I'll be right back. And then after sanding it back, I come back in here, place it neatly where I want it, try to even out the space, and I start pressing it into place. I give it a couple of love taps. The clamp loosened itself, so I'm gonna try to clamp my neck back in place. Yeah, and just give myself a couple of taps. And it's getting there. I'll try to install the rest before I go too crazy. Let me just cut the tang down the sides of it. Alright, so here is the fretboard now. I hope you can see all the frets are in. It took a little bit of finagling, but I got them in. Whew! And it's all good. So I'm going to put some of these tools to the side. Okay, so they're in. The ends are very sharp, but we're not going to touch those yet. What we're going to do is we're going to move the guitar neck onto its side. I'm going to move this away. Add a bit of foam and put my neck up like this. And I'm going to secure them in place with a little bit of super glue. On the end here, I'm just going to press a dab and let it run down and secure it. Fill up that hole. Something like that. And now I'm just going to leave that to run down for a couple of minutes. I don't spray accelerator or anything like that because it only takes a minute and a half max for it to dry anyway, and I can take a break, get some fresh air. And also, the further down it runs, it's not like it's 2 dabs of glue. It's not going to run all the way down unless you over spray it a bunch, which I didn't do. I did 2 little beads on each fret, where started there, ended there, came back there, and did the second one. So it's not going to run all the way to the other end and down and glue itself onto something. No, there's nothing, and it's just not going to happen. I don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. If it runs down halfway, that's good. So I want to give it the chance to run as far as it can, you know. And yeah, I'll be back and we'll do the other side. And then just flip the neck over and we'll do the same thing on this side. Just add a little bit of glue and let it run down in the little slot and make the fret be securely in place. I know some people say that this is a step you don't have to do, but I feel like it's also a step that doesn't hurt to do. A little bit of glue, you know, never hurts. Now you can obviously overdo it. That is always an option, but you don't have to overdo it unless you want to, I suppose. But why would you want to overdo something? There we go. And then I'll do it again. Alright, here's the neck. And we have a little bit of burrs on the side that we need to do something about before we go on to taking care of the frets. Here I have a block. It's roughly a little bit thicker than a neck is at its thickest. And on it I have glued on a file. It's actually a triangle file because that gave me a nice angle without having to think. So, if I run it up like this, I'll cut away on the fret until it looks nice. I'm just going to hold it like this and go back and forth like this. And get an angle, basically, cut into it. And yeah, I'm gonna be doing that for a bit. And then I'll do a little bit of cleanup, and we'll go from there. Hopefully I won't cut into the fretboard, but I don't think I will, because the fretboard is very rounded over from, you know, being played for 40 something years. And yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I'll try to stop before. We only have to care about the top. We don't have to care about the underside because it's there's no tang on the underside. So it really shouldn't be an issue. Right, so here is the guitar neck now. I've worked the sides and there are no fret sprouts. It feels nice and smooth. We're going to do a little bit of round over on them later, but first we're going to take a thick black pen and we're just going to paint the tops real quick. Had the neck been on a guitar and there been pickups around, I would have masked it off, but I'm going to just clean it off afterwards. The sawdust from the frets being cut, or this metal shaving as it's actually called, before someone corrects me in the comments below. I mean, I'm sure someone will do it anyway. They are annoying for pickups, but they're okay otherwise, you know? They're not out to be mean. They're just a little bit misunderstood. So yeah, just color this in. Now I checked the frets, I did it in between, I was considering filming it, but I assume that you've all seen fret work before and already know all of these things. I don't think I need to level these frets particularly much. You can sort of get a sense of how much rocking you have. And if you have a lot of rocking, and I'm not talking about a lot of rocking down the neck, the frets are newly installed, there's going to be rocking on basically every fret. But what I'm saying is, if the rocking on the fret is a lot, you know that there is a big gap. But I felt like, none of the gaps are that big. So, yeah, I have my sanding block here. I have a 240 here, 240, and I'm going to go with that because stainless steel frets are kind of annoying. It's basically the same work as regular frets, except it's harder to do, like physically. So I'm going to have to sand all of the frets with 240, 240, and then go over it again with 400, and then, you know, go through the grits and try to get up to 1,000 and then buff it, and just go a little bit slower. So all of the frets are black on the top. I don't know if you can see it. Wow. Maybe you can see it now. Wow. And all I'm going to do is take my block like this and just move it like this. And when all the frets are, when all the black is gone from all the frets, I'm gonna, that's when I'm done, basically. Then all frets are leveled. And I'm gonna move one fret each time. So when all frets are finished, I'll move in one fret to the second fret, and I'll continue from that and do like 5 passes, and then I'll go to the third, and then the fourth, and so on until I'm all the way down. And the reason why is because then I can get the string action to be a little bit lower. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, so here we have the frets and everything and the neck and all of it, and I've sanded it and all of that, and now we're going to move on to the last thing before we buff the frets, which is going to make them really shiny. They are about 1,000 grit now, but you can't really tell, because yeah, we need to buff them. But before we do that, here I have a file, and it's smooth on the edges here, but it has teeth on the flatter sides. And I'm just going to go in here like this and just round the corners. Now I know that some of you might ask, well, why didn't you do the whole, you know, rounded edge spherical thing that is popular? And the answer is because this is an old guitar and I kind of wanted to look the way it's supposed to. I know I put jumbo frets on it, which might be contradictory to that, but the reason why I did that is because I want the fast to last for as long as possible. I don't want to have to, you know, I don't really want to have to ever replace them again because of the fretboard. So yeah, the frets are going to have to be leveled and crowned and all of those things again. Oh, I didn't film the crown. No, you know, because stainless steel frets doesn't mean never do anything ever again. It just means maybe you can wait a little bit longer. So yeah, hopefully a year from now I still will feel that way and not feel like, oh, I need to take these frets off too. It's not going to be a year, but you know, I will know in a year the difference between playing this guitar with stainless steel frets and playing it with regular vintage style frets, which was on before. And I know that there are other frets I could have gone with instead of stainless steel, but I decided that if I'm going to change frets and I'm going to do all the work, and I'm gonna try to get this to be somewhat. If I'm gonna do the work of changing the frets and you know, risking not liking them and all of that, I might as well go to the extreme. And yeah. And I think that regardless of whether or not I find it to be affecting the tone or not, it's still going to be better than risking the guitars not being around for another 40 years or whatever long it is. So I'm gonna just roll with the punches and say that this is, in worst case scenario, a necessary evil. And yeah. But as you can see, there's the round over thing that I'm doing. I mean, I've done it a couple of times now over the years, so it doesn't take that long to do. I hope I'm in frame while doing this, because I have a feeling that I'm not. I'm just rambling on about the tone of the guitar. I mean, obviously I can always start rolling in more bass, because I basically have the bass at 9 or less on my amp most of the time. So something like that. Perfect. Yes. Oh, maybe a little bit more here. Always feel the frets. Always, you know, just. And if they feel like sharp in any direction, I roll my finger over the edge like this, like a little circle, and that usually lets me like catch all the little imperfections if there are any. Which at this point I feel like there almost never are any longer. Do a little bit extra rounding just for the cosmetic look. But we'll definitely, I mean, on my scratch build video series I did do the round over frets thing. So if you're interested in seeing that sort of work being done, then you can watch that. But I'll revisit it as well at other points later down the line, because it is nice to have the kind of rounded frets. I don't have a preference, if you want to know. I feel like as long as the frets aren't cutting into you and you don't have any fret sprouts, the end of the fret is very optional. It can be whatever. I've played guitars with all sorts of fret ends, and they've all been nice. So yeah, that's my take on that. Do frets the way you want to do them, you know. And as long as, I mean, if you're trying to sell guitars, maybe do whatever works best for you production wise, and that leaves a nice finish, and that you know, people are happy with. Your customers are very important. Like that, a little bit over on the underside to just get that worn in feel. something like that. It's all good. Feels nice. Yeah. I don't have any socks to run on them, but yeah, I'll leave that for Philip McKnight to do. And I'll just use my fingers to feel the frets, and then they are all nice. Yeah, okay. Let's buff it real quick before the battery runs out. Here's my drill, and here's my buffing wheel. Here's some buffing compound. There we go. Bunch on, and then just let's go wham and just try to get them nice and crisp. There we go. Get a damp rag, and we just remove the excess buffing compound. Well, yeah. That looks nice. Something like that. Shiny frets. Okay. A little bit of lemon crap, something like that. And a tissue. Smear it on. Just soak it in for another 10 minutes. Try to clean it off. Something like that. I'll clean it a little bit more because you want to get rid of all the gunk. But yeah, okay. So here's the fretboard. I hope you can see all the frets and how. I mean, the fretboard is kind of shiny too right now. It's kind of matching up a little bit, but you can see how the frets are very mirror-like. Yeah, I'm going to put this back on the neck, adjust the nut a little bit, maybe cut a new one, we'll see. And yeah, well, next thing you'll see is me playing the guitar a little bit. I will obviously play it a little bit before, so that I have an opinion of the frets. But see you in a bit. Yeah, there you have the guitar. Or here you have the guitar. So, what do I think? Well, first off, quick disclaimer. I'm talking about this guitar, I'm talking about what I can hear or notice, and I'm also talking about a guitar that I haven't really played in a while, so maybe I remember it one way and remember it differently. I did play it a little bit before, just to remind myself, but I just want to say that so that you make your own judgment of what it is I'm saying. You know, I don't want to argue with you in the comments below about what I'm experiencing. You know, if you have questions or anything, that's one thing, but if you want to tell me I'm wrong, I mean, fine, do that as well, I suppose. I think that the guitar has it's not as soft anymore. I was gonna say that I notice a big difference in the acoustic playing. There was a softness to the guitar that isn't really there anymore. If it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I kind of liked it. Maybe it will come back. We'll see. But I think it's a good thing that I did change the frets and I did all this work to them. It looks nice and it works the way it's supposed to. But yeah, there's a certain softness, a roundness to it, and if that's what you're going for with your vintage guitar, then maybe this is not the right thing to do. Obviously, if you're in a situation where you feel like this neck is on its last straw and it needs frets that can be in there for a long time, then maybe that's the correct thing to do. So you have to weigh those two things. I really want to play this guitar. I didn't buy this guitar to have it hanging on the wall and not be used. It's one of the reasons why I don't have one of those old Fender guitars from the 60s, the early 60s. I would love to have one of those, but I'm actually scared that I would have it hanging on the wall and not play it. And I kind of want to beat the crap out of my guitars and just go, you know? So yeah, the overall sound isn't that changed, I would say. There is a harshness and to it, but maybe that frequency analyzing wise would be that the highs are more prominent than before. I haven't thought too much about the sustain, but I think that the sustain has improved, or at least that there is more of it. If it's an improvement or not, it depends on what your values are. I don't think you should sacrifice tone for sustain, but that's a thing that I'm yeah, overall I would say it's a noticeable difference if you have a guitar that you know. So in that way I would say yes, I do notice a difference. I don't want to say that it's good or bad, it's just different basically. I don't think that it affects the guitar in a way that makes it loosen its value. I would not look at an old guitar that has been refretted with stainless frets as a downgrade. Personally, I would only probably think of it as a plus. But that's if I was looking at a guitar that I didn't know. On this guitar, I don't actually know what I think. But I'm going to keep them on, probably until I have to change them, which I hope I will never have to. Yeah, that's it. If you have an old guitar and it needs new frets, weigh the cons and pros, and keep in mind that if what you love is that woolliness, maybe enjoy it until you can't anymore, and let it, pass into legends or whatever. But if you're okay with losing that, then maybe it's the right thing to do. You can achieve that softness with EQ, I'm pretty sure. So maybe you should just, soften your EQ a little bit. I'll actually try that right now as an extra little thing. So what if I... Nah, it's not the same. I don't know. Maybe with an EQ pedal where you can fine tune a little bit, or maybe with a different capacitor on the tone, or something like that, where you can just modify that a little bit. But yeah, maybe not on the amp. It's a thing that I'll have to experiment with and try to figure out. Let me know if you guys want to see that. I could sit here with an EQ pedal and try to see if I can get the tone that I have in my head of what this guitar used to sound like, and see if I can get that back. But yeah, that's in a rambly sort of way. I don't really know what to say. There is a softness to older guitars that I think that a lot of people who don't play old guitars and that don't see the value in it doesn't understand that the roundness of the tone. There's a softness that comes with it. That is, it's not about clarity and it's not about the highs, but it's just that. On another note, it feels different to play as well. There's a lot, like the frets are harder and you can feel it against the fret. But also there's a different fret size. These are higher, thicker frets. So obviously it feels different. And I like it. So yeah, I feel like doing a bunch of bends and messing about. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go now. Talk to me in the comments below. If you have any questions about the guitar, I mean, like how it sounded, if what I would recommend your specific guitar when it comes to stainless steel frets or anything like that, talk to me in the comments below, and you know, explain the situation of where your guitar is at and you know what it is you're valuing in the tone, and I'll try my best to help you out, because changing frets to a different kind of fret is it's scary, honestly, because you can change the quality of your guitar. I have another guitar that I was thinking of putting stainless steel frets on, but I'm not going to do that actually, just because it doesn't need I don't need to worry about the fretboard and the neck that much on that guitar, and I don't think I would like the harshness on that guitar, because I've yeah, it's the round ovenness and soundness of the warmth, or whatever you call it, is I value that very much in my guitars. But we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind and have to repost. Oh, I'm not even on a fret. I've tried to play this note here. It's not working because there's no fret. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to stay awesome and cool, and go and take care of your guitars. Make sure they play nice. Make sure that they will last forever, because that's always good. That's always good. Let's see here. It's already out of tune. Oh, and I kept the knot. I managed to just put the knot back on. I probably a thing I should have said, because some of you are going to be like, well, obviously, if you got a new knot, then